Howdy gamers, welcome back to the channel. My name is Andrew. Now admittedly, the title of my video today is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I wanted to take a look at the RTX 3080 10GB at 4K resolution in 2024. Now the method I'm gonna use to do this is to first try and find some graphical settings where we can use native 4K resolution, and then second, to find more optimized settings using DLSS so that we can maybe increase the graphical settings a little bit. The card we're gonna be using today is the MSI Gaming Z Trio. The only difference I really know between this card and the Gaming X Trio is that this card has an actual metal backplate instead of the plastic one on the Gaming X Trio. And just a reminder, if you enjoy the content on the channel, please remember to like and subscribe. We're on our way to 200 subs and I'm so excited for that. So let's just get right into the video. The PC specs for today's video are the Core i7 13700K, 64 gigabytes of DDR5 6400, and the MSI Gaming Z Trio 3080 10GB. And resizable bar is on. All right, here we are back in Cyberpunk, a favorite of the channel. At least for me, it's a favorite for me. Before we get into it, let's just take a look at our settings. We are of course gonna be at 4K resolution, and let's start off at medium settings. We're gonna turn off resolution scaling, so we're gonna be at native 4K. Let's turn up the crowd density because I really think that brings the city to life a little bit. Turn off the motion blur, and I think that is gonna be good for us to start off with. And right away, we're sort of in the 50s, the upper 50s. So it's not too bad. Our frame time graph is nice and smooth down there. And I think this is quite a playable experience, honestly. And it's pretty remarkable to me that the RTX 3080 10GB can hold its own here at native 4K in Cyberpunk. It's nice that it scales like this, and that you can have a 4K monitor. And I understand. I really understand the impulse to want to turn up every setting and have like the highest frame rates all the time. But this is great. This is great, and the game looks fantastic. So if you're on a 3080 10GB, you're doing really good. And I think part of the reason why it's so good is because it has that memory bandwidth, even though it doesn't have the sheer amount of VRAM. It has the bandwidth. And here we are getting into the 60s, so this is nice. This is nice, I would say. And so now let's just turn up our settings a little bit and use some DLSS to try and improve our experience. Let's go to high preset, go to DLSS, let's go straight to balanced. And once again, I want to increase that crowd density and turn off the film grain. I kind of like these two. I like the lens flare and depth of field, but turn off the motion blur. And there we go, looking good. Let's see where this lands us. And right here, at least, we're up over 100. So we can actually get a high refresh rate experience with a perfectly smooth frame time graph at 4K on a 4K display. And it's looking beautiful. It's looking absolutely beautiful. And of course that even dropped our VRAM usage a little bit. But yeah, we're looking freaking good in the 80s in this very intensive area. And a perfectly playable experience in the 70s now. So I wonder if we can do one more setting up and if it'll work. Let's go to low ray tracing. Performance DLSS this time. Add in some ray reconstruction as the settings flip-flop. Let's do our crowd density again. Off film grain, off with chromatic aberration, and off with motion blur. And let's see if we can actually get a playable experience here. And I have a feeling that this is gonna pop in. Are we gonna pop in? Yes. We did finally pop in. We're in the 40s. Now, I wouldn't really call this the best ever experience. But hey, we're on a 3080 10GB And we've got a little bit of ray trace shadows going on. And we've got like pretty smooth gameplay. So yeah, hey, if you're on a 4K TV with a controller, you could have a good time with this. You absolutely could. All right, let's move on to the next game. And we are on to the next one. It's Red Dead Redemption 2. I figured that I would try to switch around the games, add some different games, take out some games. And Red Dead is always a good one to take a look at because it is a gorgeous game. And I have a feeling that the 3080 is really going to have a good time with this game. All right, for our settings, we're going to be, once again, of course, at 4K. This looks fine. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set it so that the preset goes to the very first level that has X16 anisotropic filtering. I like having 16x anisotropic filtering, so let's just use that as our baseline. And let's take a look at the rest of what we got going here. No DLSS here. And I want to turn down the water physics to like about halfway. This is actually something that another channel, it seems like this gives you a little bit of a performance boost, so I'm going to do that. And once again, we are at 4K native resolution, a little bit above the balanced, middle of the balanced preset graphics wise. And yeah, pretty nice. And it looks so good. The thing is 4K is just, it's so crispy and good. And I feel like there's an idea that you can't play at 4K unless you have like a 4080 or a 4090, and that simply is not true. That simply is not true. Oh shit! Damn. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, buddy. It's been a while since I played this, especially on a keyboard and mouse. So this is a wonderfully playable experience at 4K. We're in the 60s pretty solidly. What happens if we want to, can we max it out? Can we max out the graphics preset? Can we just move this bar all the way to the top and then use some DLSS? Let's go to balance. Once again, I like balanced at 4K. I think it is a fine compromise. We'll just leave the sharpening at default, and then let's once again move this to halfway. And let's see if we can max this thing out. And it surely appears that we can. And the DLSS image is nice. I don't think it's as nice as 4K native. So, I mean, the graphics look great in this game as always. But the thing is, I would stick to just that preset that was a little bit above, like right where that 16x anisotropic filtering pops in. I would go to that preset, stick at 4K native. I think especially like if you see his hair here, there's like a lot of little artifacts and stuff. I don't know if that comes across in the recording or if it's just on my display, but you might be able to see there that there's just some artifacts. And at 4K, 4K native, that's perfectly clean and clear. So I would just do that. Oh man. Dang, dude. Oh shit. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's move on to the next one. Here's a brand new one for me, the finals. I've barely played this. I mean, I really haven't played this at all. So forgive me. Forgive me if I'm not quite so good at this, but let's go to a 4K resolution. I figure, well, since it has DLAA, let's just stick there. That's gonna be native. Can we get like a decent field of view? Sure. Motion blur off. RTX, okay, so we're gonna have some ray tracing. Let's actually go, I don't know how this is gonna be. So let's just go, let's start off at the medium settings. 4K, DLAA. I have no idea how this is gonna go for me. I don't really know this game. But we are at 4K, DLAA, so in theory a little bit better than TAA, depending on the game. So let's see how this performs.
It's game time, folks.
Let's go. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like right away we're gonna have a
The first team to grab enough cash will win.
about 100, a little bit under 100 frame rate experience. Let's follow, oops. Let's follow our friend here. And the game looks pretty good. I wouldn't say it looks like amazing. I saw a person. No! Hey, we got someone! And then we died. Let's see if we can go up to the high settings with some DLSS balance. And this definitely looks a lot better, I would say, compared to the medium setting. And yeah, we're up above 100 frames per second. This is once again 4K, high preset, dynamic RTX with balanced DLSS. And this game, this is pretty fun. It would take me a while to sort of get my bearings with whatever's going on here. Oh, you can crash through stuff. That's crazy.
Powerhouses have recovered and respawned.
Let's go. Let's go, Kenny. Oh, he got me. He got me. So is there anything else we can do here? Let's try to let's go for epic settings. And DLSS balance is 4K, DLSS balanced, epic settings with dynamic RTX. And yeah, we're still like in the 90s, so like, and I wouldn't call this competitive settings necessarily. I think if you're playing competitively and you're serious about these kind of games, you want more FPS than this. Let's go! Oh, and he got me. Oh, let's go! That was teamwork right there. Let's go! We got him. Man, with only 5. With only 5 health remaining, we got him. So yeah, this is a 4K epic settings. Not necessarily competitive, but definitely a playable experience. Let's go. Yeah, we got him, Kenny. Oh no. Dang it. Yeah, get him. Hey, we won? Hey, look at that. We won our first we won on our first try. Now, I can't say I did like all that great. But hey. Hey, I won, so what can I say? I helped. I at least tried to help. I was a bad teammate though. All right, let's move on to the next game. So here we are in Forza Horizon 5. I have a feeling we're not gonna have any issues in this game. This might be a quick one, but let's take a look. We're gonna be at 4K. I like a little bit of motion blur in racing games, so that's fine. Let's turn on DLAA. Our graphics preset is gonna be extreme. So we're just gonna go straight for extreme. And let's see where we end up. And here we go. And yeah, at extreme 4K native with DLAA, we're up close to 100 FPS. Man, well, 80s now. So there's really nothing wrong with this. There's really nothing wrong with this at all. Let's go into the brush and see if we can drop our frame rate a little bit. Not too bad. We're just in the 80s. So yeah, this is pretty great. It feels very nice and smooth. This game, surprisingly, I mean, or maybe not surprisingly, but it definitely uses some VRAM. It's up around 9 gigabytes of VRAM. But this is all very nice and smooth. But since we are at 4K, let's give it some DLSS and just see if we can improve our frame rate a little bit, get it more to that high, stable, high frame rate experience. Let's go straight to balance, which once again is what I like at 4K. And yeah, that kind of made, like, maybe not like a massive difference, but I can really feel how much smoother it is. Maybe not a huge numbers difference, 10%, maybe 15%, but it feels smoother to me. Maybe it's a little bit more than that, but it seems like we're at 100. Are we really gonna even drop below 100? Let's go through these. Yeah, through some of these bushes you do, but it's still a great experience. 4K, extreme, DLSS balanced. Do it. And the game looks good. And the game, I don't think it looks appreciably different with DLSS enabled versus native resolution. This is one of those. Wow, in the 70s now. So maybe this is, so maybe this is a spot to come drive around if you want to test out your frame rates. And through the little town, still right around 90 to 100. Unless you're doing massive off-roading, maybe you'll drop into the 70s and 80s, but looks good. I thought this would be a quick one, and it is. So let's move on to the next game. All right, here we are, Alan Wake 2. This is going to be an interesting one. This is really going to be an interesting one, and I think a lot is going to depend on how you tolerate sort of frame rates that might not be 60 frames per second. I think there are some settings in this game visually, such as having ray tracing on low, that are important to me personally. But we are going to take a look. First of all, let's just see what our graphic settings are. Boy, let's go to 4K DLAA, because we're gonna do it. That's one of our goals, is to try and use native resolution. So let's try it. Let's go to low and turn off our ray tracing. And let's just see where this gets us. This is 4K native low preset. 4K native low. And let's just see how this works out for us. Oh, and it is nighttime out here. So this game looks fantastic, first of all. Even at the very lowest setting, it looks really great. But boy, it is 4K, and I feel like this game really comes to life quite well at 4K. But clearly, it doesn't perform amazingly on the 3080 10 gigabyte at native resolution. And it's one of those games where I think you expect to have to use some upscaling. So let's do that. Let's try to get a good experience at the very least here. Now, let's go to balanced once again. And, you know, obviously, unfortunately, we don't have frame generation available to us. And let's just see where that takes us. Oh, yeah. Okay. We're making good headway. Now that we are using balanced DLSS, we're up in the 80s, which is fantastic. Now let's see, additionally, if we can go to ray tracing low, ray tracing low is an important setting for me in this game. I think it improves the visuals tremendously. And we're right, boy. We're right around 50 here. And for me, I probably, I know a lot of people aren't going to like it, but I probably am okay being in the 40s in this game just because of how sort of cinematic of an experience it is. And I think there are going to be some areas in the game where it drops below this, so especially in the forest areas. So that may not be what you want. But if we go to, say, let's bring it down another level to performance mode. And let's see if we get any kind of little boost here. And yeah, seemingly a little bit, maybe like 15%. So it is just one of those situations. And once again, this is 4K performance, low preset, low ray tracing. And I'm not sure, let's see, let's increase our quality preset to medium and see if that tanks us at all. And not really. But it's honestly a little bit difficult for me to notice the difference between like low and medium as far as the presets go. What happens if we go to high? And that didn't seem to hurt us tremendously at all either. But this is like about, I'd say this is about as good as it gets for having ray tracing on low, which I think is an important setting. And yeah, so you're in the 50s. So this is one of those circumstances where having a more powerful card, this can do it. It can do it, but having more juice and more features such as frame generation is really helpful in this game. So let's move on to the next one. This is a game I wanted to add into the mix here because I think it is one that people might want to legitimately play at 4K because it's not like the most demanding in most areas. It just seems like 4K is a more legitimate option in a lot of ways than it is in like a lot of other way more demanding games. So let's just take a look at our settings. We of course are at 4K, no DLSS yet. We'll check that out. I honestly don't know how this is going to affect us, but let's go to the Ultra preset, and we'll use TAA to start off with. Okay, and we are at 4K resolution. There's shadow art over there, and yeah, not really any trouble at all at 4K native. Not that I expected it to be, but you know, it is an interesting thing to be able to play this game at 4K resolution. I think that it's a legitimate thing that you might want to do because it's sort of a cinematic game, an artistic game. Oh, these guys are gonna come get me. No, I'm literally gonna die to these guys, aren't I? Let's get him with the old blast here. All right, hey, we lived. All right, let's see if we can get a little bit more out of this. Let's go to balanced once again. And now we're really living it up in the 120s. And honestly, I think the DLSS picture in this game looks really good. It kind of adds a little bit of sort of softness that I think is really good. That I think gives a nice quality to the image, which usually I guess maybe you don't think of softness being a positive quality, but I really think it is in this case. And yeah, we're up like in the we're up in the 150, so yeah, why not? Why not play like this with a 4K display? And you've got so much like screen real estate on 4K that, you know, the game, it's so immersive and it looks really nice. Let's take a look at our little conversation scene here. And then we'll call it a day on this one. Ooh, and we had some little interesting frame spikes there. But overall, this is playing just fine. You can see our 0.2% lows kind of dipped in that little area in that as we were talking to her. I'm not sure what that was all about, but
I'll give you a pass this time.
well, I think this one is a success. So why don't we wrap this up and get some final thoughts on the 3080 10GB at 4K. So what did we learn from all this? Well, I think we learned that the 3080 10GB is really perfectly capable at 4K. The toughest time that it was given was with Alan Wake 2, which is expected. You know, you may not be reaching 60 FPS if you want to enable low ray tracing, but if you don't, you can certainly get above 60 frames per second. It's perfectly playable, and every other game was perfectly playable or better. It was really a high refresh rate experience in multiple games, just depending on the settings. And I think that's the ultimate thing to think about with this card, and with many other cards. You know, there is that impulse to want to just crank all the settings to ultra, have a ray tracing on ultra, but it's not always necessary. And if you lower some settings, you can get extra life out of a lot of these cards that may have been older, may have been flagships in a previous generation. And there isn't always a reason to upgrade just for, you know, diminishing returns on visuals, you know. So I think that's the takeaway from this. The 3080 10GB is a powerful GPU, and it can run games at 4K. It certainly can. It's just a matter of the settings you pick. And I think that's about it for this video. If you liked the video, if you like my content, please remember to like and subscribe. We're on our march to 200 subscribers, so I'm hoping we get there soon. It's been so fun making videos for everyone that watches, and I'll see ya all next time.